Chinese electric cars are just dangerous. If you buy one, you either have to deal with it becoming a combustion engine, not safe enough in the accident, or in this man's case, hemorrhoids. Or I guess you get a helicopter for steering wheel. Also, probably don't take them off-roading as they just burn up in flames if you stress the motor a little bit. Welcome to China Insider, I'm David Zhang. Chinese EVs are just not good for you. Not because they're made in China, but genuinely because they're made to fulfill quotas of the CCP and its domination through exports. So their intention isn't to benefit the people, but to fulfill nationalism, which is why safety is often neglected. This recently happened in China. A Huawei Ito M7 SUV rear-ended into a sprinkler truck on the highway, and the car burst into flame, and all three people inside did not make it. Rescue attempts were made on site as seen in this video, but it seems the doors could not be opened. Unfortunately, the victims ended up passing. Last year, a video actually exposed how this car had its problems on the doors, and handles had to be fiddled with in order to open the vehicle when it's unlocked. And since the incident, internet censors have basically been scrubbing this topic. Key terms such as Huawei will actually get your chat room removed on WeChat. Or, for another example, viral search topics on Weibo will remove these incident-related posts. And the victim's family is a grieving mother who just lost her son, her husband, and her younger brother. And they were actually threatened by authorities to stop seeking answers online and to delete the things they posted. So internet users have been poking fun at it, saying that after all, Huawei is like the flower of the motherland. This kind of flower that grew up in a greenhouse and is cared for in various ways will only be so fragile, both physically, given the car, and of course, mentally. And internet users also said, again, this is very much making fun of the situation because just how ridiculous it is, saying that, guess what, if your Huawei car ends your life, your Huawei phone will automatically donate your organs. They are so considerate. Of course, Huawei, like many phones, have the option to allow you to choose to consent to be an organ donor. Now, initially, the victim's family, of course, posted on various social media asking for answers. And later on, she released a second video while sobbing, saying that people should stop asking for answers on this matter.
感谢相关部门提供的调查材料，感谢好心人第一时间破窗并开门救出我的亲人。虽然已经因为车辆碰撞失去生命，逝者已安。希望大家忽略或删除网上种种不实的报道和内容，也希望大家不要再打扰我和我的家人。
Clearly, she's been told and threatened to not talk about it anymore. Now, at the same time, there were nationalistic internet users who wanted her to apologize to Huawei and Ito for causing trouble, saying that she had brought shame to national enterprises with her actions. When others, of course, came to her defense and started to question this person's integrity and his bizarre comment, as you know, her family members has just passed away from this accident, and he replied saying that China doesn't have to have those 3 victims, or 4 including her, but China cannot live without Huawei. What a crazy person. Now, Huawei Telecom, the phone maker, has a partnership with Chinese EV maker Ito. And so when you have the nationalistic symbol in Huawei, that's bound to bring shame if something like this were to happen. Well, that would destroy the entirety of the bizarre image created for the sake of nationalism. Now, the car allegedly didn't deploy airbags, and it wasn't clear if the emergency braking system called AEB was activated or not. Also, the A-frame on the car, which is the front frame of the windshield, had collapsed. Ito released a statement later claiming that the airbags did deploy, and of course they wouldn't admit to the problems, but this didn't stop everybody from talking about it, because the car was purchased from the dealership on January 14th, just a bit over 3 months ago. And Huawei Ito promoted the car as having flammable protection, auto emergency braking, emergency measurements and systems, other protective measures, that is, as part of its campaign to promote the car. Now, clearly that never happened or deployed in this case. In the separate video, we also see another evidence that this car has a lot of problems, because this is another M7. And when it's auto-driving, it didn't activate the control measures or the preventative protection measures and actually lost control. And it hit the sand barrel and the signpost. Now, before the accident, there was no takeover warning for the driver. And so when the accident occurred, auto emergency braking didn't kick in and no airbags were deployed. And so this is interesting because Huawei says that their technology for autonomous driving can rival that of Tesla's. Also, another video shows the exact same car, the M7, driving at high speed in the dark, and the lights inside and out just suddenly went away.
还行吗？漂亮。走，别着急。你是自个儿灭的还是？
That's so scary. This car, and we've basically seen all sorts of problems with it, and seems like most of the cars are new. Now, this branding has received a nickname for its Chinese name. So Huawei Ito in Chinese is Huawei Wenjie, and Wenjie means asking the world. And so now the nickname given by internet user has become Huawei Mingjie, which means Huawei Underworld. You know, unfortunately, it is life-threatening. By comparison, another accident in China involved a Tesla, and it has been used to juxtapose with the Huawei incident. This video shows here the Tesla flipping like it's an action movie, smashing into multiple cars before landing. And the close-up video shows that the rear end of the car is totally smashed in. The front of the car is so damaged, smashed in. But guess what? Nothing's flaming up. Nothing's exploding. And you know what else isn't damaged? The people inside. That's because the A-frame and every other frame is still intact. That's really important because the fundamental idea of safety for passengers is to protect the people inside. And seems like they were fine. Of course, the driver and the passenger looks like they're extremely shocked and probably bruised and bleeding somewhere, but they look protected. Now, of course, the other cars weren't so lucky, as they were basically smushed like a tank had just rode over them. So, of course, this video then went viral on Weibo as it just followed the Huawei car incident, and it clearly contrasts between the build quality and when it comes to safety between these two brands. And so, of course, everybody knows when you buy a car, safety is perhaps the most important thing that you want to know. Can this car protect me if I was involved in an accident? And there's no guarantee that Chinese EVs could do that to meet the safety standards. Now, internet users say that if the Underworld M7 encounters a mid-air roll like this Tesla had, I think that the Underworld M7 will directly transform into a missile and explode. Well, I tend to agree. I mean, just look at this video here. That's a BYD car going up a little mountain, doing some off-roading. And it decided to just kind of give up and started to flame up. Now, that seems to be pretty interesting because the amount of videos I've seen that Chinese EVs are blowing up or exploding or just caught up in flames seems to outweigh that of Tesla's. Now, Chinese EVs are made so that Xi Jinping can achieve his dream of exporting trash to dominate global markets, to defeat domestic companies, and to basically ruin their economy on the way. Now, these cars are purely for props purposes, and so they're really not up to standards. They're here to meet a number quota. Now, I'm not saying that Chinese companies can't make good things. It's just that time and time again, we've seen cutting corners, faking it till you make it, and use nationalism to drive their production instead of concrete integrity. And it's like life-threatening situations like this that really places it in a low credit sort of spot when it comes to, do we really trust this brand to do us good? And especially when it comes to a company that's threatening the victim's family, that they're going to get in trouble for talking about safety concerns, and that this company just happens to be the crown jewel of the CCP. Yeah, it does not make a formula for trust and confidence. Now, Chinese cars aren't all about the bad outer designs and potential safety/performance issues. Their interior design language seems to also be terrible. This man made a video about a BYD car, and he says after driving 16,000 kilometers or 10K miles, there are three major problems. The first is that the car's AC is a scrolling wheel that ties the speed of the fan to the vent position. So say if you want a higher speed on the fan, it just blasts into your face and nose. And if you say have a slightly lower position for the fan, it then blasts onto your belly. And then if it's a bit lower, of course it's a lower speed, it's hitting the knees. Now Chinese people in particular, older people, they're quite sensitive to cold stuff. And in Chinese medicine, cold is a source of disease. And so older Chinese people, they're constantly telling us to not eat cold things, to drink warm stuff, and to keep ourselves warm. So even in the video, he says that this design isn't for Chinese people. How can it be done so against the Chinese culture? And his second problem, now this is, I just couldn't stop laughing here, is the problem with the seat. Now, there's this long sewing line that runs across the seat from front, center to back. Normally, seats have sewing lines that run across or, vertical, horizontal, various sections, but they're never felt by the person's butt. But not in BYD. The driver says it feels like a thong that basically cuts through his entire nether region. His words, not mine, from the front to the back. And from his voice, I really felt a sense that this car had just hurt his manhood or pride.
这就是一条丁字裤，勒的那个屁眼呐、到那个软带呀、到中间那条根呢、后来才发觉就是这条缝线搞的，好辛苦。
His words, again, not mine. He also says that after sitting for a few days on it, it felt like he was wearing thin pants. It felt like there was this burning / itchy sensation in the area. So he thought he had gotten hemorrhoids, which of course is pretty bad, but that was just the seat. And his third problem with the car is that there wasn't any fog lights because the new lights are small. They're cone-shaped like a flashlight. And so when he drives in rural areas where you don't get a lot of street lights to illuminate the ground, it's really hard. So he had a terrible experience driving people into the countryside. So yes, just don't buy Chinese EVs because one, their technology is really just half-baked and not really there, but that's also a ticket to bad stuff happening to you. All right, that's it today for the episode on why Chinese EVs are so dangerous. And even though it's kind of funny, but it's also really sad because it's actually life-threatening. So I hope you enjoy the content. Leave a like, comment below your thoughts on this topic. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And make sure to like this video because it helps to push the video to more people. All right, until next time, this is China Insider. Bye-bye.